talk about the engine.
And there we have Carl Penhall traveling with the U.S. Army, the Apache Helicopter Group, south of Baghdad. Carl, thank you for that report. We'll toss it back now to Anderson and Carol.
All right, Darren, thanks very much. You know, one of the largest battles that we have been following over the last 24 or so hours is the various conflicts in Nasiriyah. The U.S. Central Command says that fewer than 10 Marines were killed and others wounded Sunday in fighting around Nasiriyah, which of course is in southern Iraq. CNN's Alessio Vinci, who is embedded with the 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines, he reports on the bloodiest battle yet between the U.S. and Iraq. Take a look.
Hours after the U.S. armored column came under attack in Nasiriyah, the body of one Marine was being wrapped in an American flag and carried to a waiting helicopter which had just landed nearby. He was one of many Marines to die in this intense battle to control an important supply route for U.S. forces trying to reach Baghdad to the north. The charred remains of one of the vehicles still smoldering, a testimony to the ferocity of the fight as Iraqi forces used rocket-propelled grenades to destroy the heavily armored personnel carrier, killing everyone on board. Nearby, a second armored vehicle heavily damaged, the burned gear of another Marine lying on the ground. Earlier in the day, only 6 miles away, another deadly attack against American forces in the region. A U.S. military supply convoy was ambushed as it lost its way around the unfamiliar territory.
Several hours after the Iraqi forces ambushed a U.S. military supply convoy, Iraqi forces continue to engage the U.S. military, who is responding with heavy machine gun fire and 40mm grenades.
Advancing U.S. Marines, many of them as young as 19 and seeing their first combat, called for air support as they attempted to enter the city of Nasiriyah. U.S. military commanders say helicopters and planes managed to destroy several Iraqi tanks, trucks and anti-aircraft batteries. But somehow commanders here say they did not manage to prevent serious losses in the fiercest battle yet of the Iraqi conflict. Alessio Vinci, CNN, with the U.S. Marines in Nasiriyah, Iraq.
It is remarkable when you think, 19 years old, 20 years old. We were talking to Jason Bellini, one of our reporters earlier, and Jason's like, 25 years old. He's been doing this for a good 4 or 5 years now, but when you think he's one of the old men in the group of Marines he is with, probably, it's...
I know, it's difficult to look into the Marines' faces and other soldiers on duty and just see how young they are. They're just babies. In comparison with how old we are.
Speak for yourself.
We're still awaiting Saddam Hussein to appear on Iraqi television. He's supposed to be giving this historic speech, and we're wondering right now if he'll mention the American POWs that Iraq supposedly has in custody, and whether those POWs will appear with him.
Yeah, it's really, you never know what's going to happen. We've been told that Iraqi TV is going to be airing some sort of statement which they describe as historic from Saddam Hussein, and we of course will bring it to you as soon as it comes in.
And of course we haven't seen Saddam Hussein besides that one bizarre videotaped presentation on Iraqi television where he looked not himself with the big thick glasses, and everybody was wondering if that was really him.
Right, and this, of course, if there is a speech in the coming hour or so, this will certainly produce a whole new round of questions, a whole new round of discussion, and which we will
probably The latest word is supposed to happen 3 a.m. Eastern time, so we'll see if it does. For more in-depth coverage of the war in Iraq, be sure to check out the special report available at CNN.com. A wealth of information there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You can't tour a factory over a fax machine. You can't impress a client with just email. Not that I haven't tried. Sometimes they gotta see that winning smile.
Choice Hotels offers more than 2,500 locations across the country. Because staying close to your business can take you far from your office.
This smile remains undefeated.
Now when you stay at any Choice Hotel, you'll earn triple miles from participating airlines. Call 800-4CHOICE. That's the power of being there.
Every 15 minutes, only CNN Headline News gives you up-to-the-minute reports from Iraq, on screen and on the ticker. Breaking news from the front lines every 15 minutes. CNN Headline News. It's everything you need to know.
CNN puts you alongside the troops with soldiers.
Walter Rogers, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Ryan Chilcote.
With sailors.
Frank Buckley, Kira Phillips, Gary Stryker.
With airmen.
Gary Tutton, Bob Franken.
With Marines.
Jason Bellini, Art Harris, Martin Savage.
Plus, CNN joins forces with top news organizations and our network of affiliates to put more reporters in the region than anyone. No one gets you closer than CNN, the most trusted name in news.
And when we talk about breaking news, we are awaiting Saddam Hussein to go on Iraqi television to give what the Iraqis term an historic speech. You're taking a live look at pictures of Baghdad. Air raid sirens went off just a short time ago, but as far as we know, no bombs fell. Of course, we're not seeing the whole of Baghdad, and we really don't know, but we do know that some airstrikes were carried out last night around 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, and early reports say that an Air Force building in Baghdad was hit, perhaps some other buildings, but those, obviously, any sort of damage assessment is simply not known at this time. And I think the latest air raid sirens were Monday, 9:39 a.m. Baghdad time, which is about 1:39 a.m. Eastern time. So it is obviously an ongoing situation. And the reason we're showing you that Baghdad live picture is, as we said, this speech we are awaiting. We're told any moment, perhaps about 5 minutes from now, apparently from Saddam Hussein. We don't know, and this could be significant. Do not know if it will be a live address or a taped address. Just guessing would be, it would seem a taped address would be most likely, given what can best be described as a tenuous security situation for Saddam Hussein.
It's true, but it may be live. You never know, because maybe he wants to give like a boost of morale to his troops. Who knows? I mean, everybody will be looking at his state of health, because there was word that he was injured in the first bombardment on his headquarters in Baghdad.
And plus all those questions that the earlier videotaped statement by Saddam Hussein engendered, the questions of, was that the real Saddam Hussein? How did he appear? You know, everything from down to the size of his glasses, were those glasses he normally wears? Why was he reading off a paper?
And the Pentagon finally determined it was indeed Saddam Hussein, but maybe there's just a 10% of doubt left whether it was really him or one of his body doubles.
So we will obviously be looking at this very closely, and we will bring it to you live. And again, you are looking at a live picture right there of Baghdad. Let's take a look a little bit at some of the past of Saddam Hussein, some of his reign. Of course, not all Iraqis are proving to be loyal to Saddam Hussein.
Not at all. Our Bruce Burkhart looks at the history of Saddam's reign.
1979, the Pirates win the World Series. At the movies, people are going to see Apocalypse Now and all that jazz. And in the Middle East, the Ayatollah Khomeini takes over from the Shah of Iran, leading to the takeover of the U.S. Embassy and the hostage crisis. And next door, in Iraq in 1979, Saddam Hussein takes control. His image on a gargantuan scale looms over many Baghdad street corners. Radio and television stations are owned by the state, limiting information, but not the hyperbolic praise for a leader portrayed as heroic as he leads all Arabs against the infidels. But even his tight control of information cannot disguise the miserable state of the Iraqi economy and quality of life. Saddam Hussein's adventures in 3 conflicts, an 8-year war with Iran, and a battle against his own Kurdish people in the north, and finally the Gulf War, followed by economic embargoes, have left the country in shambles. 24 years of power. Others on the world stage have come and gone. Ayatollah Khomeini and Slobodan Milosevic. Hussein has lasted through 5 presidents, and not all were enemies. Both Presidents Carter and Reagan provided Hussein with weapons during his war with Iran. A UN food for oil program was initiated to combat famine and the spread of communicable disease. But Saddam Hussein's regime still limits its effectiveness by withholding some food from the market and smuggling oil out of the country illegally. So if this is Saddam's final confrontation, what will be left in his wake? If removed, a populace numbed by 24 years of tyranny will remain, making one wonder, can democracy take root in such soil? That is uncertain. But for now, the objectives are clear. Remove Saddam Hussein and find his weapons of mass destruction.
This is crabgrass. I don't want a secret.
Hey, I'll get this. Besides, I get airline miles. With your business card. Huh.
What is your credit card doing for your small business?
You earn miles on everything you buy? Yeah, from supplies to travel expenses.
The Citi Platinum Select Advantage Business Card. Call now and you could get 1 mile for every $1 you spend. Miles that may never expire. Plus 10,000 bonus miles.
I use my miles for car rentals, hotels, on over 25 top airlines, even a well-earned vacation.
Plus, get benefits like account summaries, business discounts, online fraud protection, and more. Call now to request your card.
I'd like the Citi Advantage business card and 10,000 bonus miles.
And soon, your miles could take you almost anywhere.
Oh, Paris is great. And flying free? Makes it even better. Smart business decision.
The Citi Advantage Business Card.
Call now to request your card and 10,000 bonus miles.
Looking for news when you want it? Then get CNN Quickcast, the best video newscast on the web. With one click, CNN Quickcast delivers news right to your desktop in high-quality broadband video. Get it now, get it fast. Get CNN Quickcast.
Carol Costello, about 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Now an update for you. About 60 miles south of Baghdad, Apache helicopters attacked a Republican Guard armored division. Our Carl Penhall accompanied the 11th Attack Helicopter Regiment. He says the choppers ran into what one pilot described as a hornet's nest of anti-aircraft fire. The U.S. helicopter suffered multiple hits. One was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. Most pilots said they were unable to achieve their objective of knocking out Republican Guard tanks and artillery pieces. U.S. Marines have taken a key site in Qasr. They raided the Ba'ath Party headquarters and found weaponry, munitions, and leaflets that were dropped by coalition aircraft. Our Jason Bellini, embedded with the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, says 100 Marines with tank support took control of that building. Also found inside the headquarters notebooks with handwritten notes that are being translated right now. Coalition officials lauded the first strike by unmanned Predator drone. The remote-controlled drone fired a Hellfire 2 missile, destroying an anti-aircraft artillery gun in southern Iraq. The Predator had been instrumental in the enforcement of the southern no-fly zone. And the Pentagon says U.S. troops have now secured a facility in southern Iraq that may have produced chemical weapons. The plant is in Najaf, some 90 miles south of Baghdad. Officials say it's unclear what, if any, materials are still present in that plant. Also, the Pentagon is reporting 2 more Marines have been killed in accidents in southern Iraq. One Marine was killed when his vehicle overturned, while a second died after a machine gun accidentally discharged.
And we are awaiting any moment. We had told it was going to happen around 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Again, we simply don't know. We are awaiting a speech that Iraqi TV is describing as historic. Take that for what it's worth. Apparently Saddam Hussein is going to make some sort of an address. It will obviously be carried on Iraqi TV, and we will carry it as well to you.
Yeah, and we've been wondering here what he's going to say about the American POWs. If an American POW will appear with him, if that will be live or taped. But right, as you said before, it's unlikely to be live because Saddam Hussein trusts absolutely no one right now. So it would be difficult for him to actually participate in a live broadcast.
Yeah, obviously with any sort of live broadcast, there are preparations one has to make in advance that would obviously perhaps hurt one's security situation. Well, he would have to travel
to the TV station. If it's on tape, he doesn't have to do that.
Right.
So
we're going to go, we have Carl Penhall on a beeper right now. He was involved in what is being described as a very intense Apache helicopter attack several hours ago. Carl, what's the latest where you are? You've returned to the base. How are things now?
Yes, Anderson, we're now back at the airfield. Sandstorms blowing in, but it is daytime now. The mission took place just after midnight and lasted for about 3 hours, so we got back before dawn. I've been talking to some of the pilots this morning who flew on the...
Okay, Carl, I'm sorry.
Those great
You're listening to Sahaf...
Mohammed Sahaf, the Iraqi Information Administrator.
Sahid al-Sahaf, the Information Minister, listening.
To that nation, and during this time, the great leader Saddam Hussein will address our nation and our heroic armed forces, and to connect with his soldiers and to show them the path for victory after he consolidated the path of justice. His Excellency, the leader, President Saddam Hussein, talking to you.
What you are watching is a broadcast from Iraqi television just a moment ago, and we didn't really get any preparation for this, which is why we broke into Carl Panholt. You saw the Iraqi Information Minister, Mohammed Saeed al-Sahaf, saying that Saddam Hussein was going to be making some sort of a statement apparently shortly.
Now, we don't. One important factor to note, we don't know if these are live pictures or tape pictures, but we do know the Information Minister of Iraq introduced Saddam Hussein, so we're expecting him shortly.
And of course, we will bring that to you live. There will be a lot of people very closely watching this, both at home and in the corridors of power in the United States and throughout the world, watching to see what Saddam Hussein looks like at this point, what he says, and trying to glean any kind of information they can out of his location. Let's listen in.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, when the victory comes from God and you witness the people coming to the religion of God in waves, praise the Lord and ask forgiveness. O great nation, the great mujahideen in our armed forces, peace be upon you. We know, and all of us in this patient and great nation knows how we have tried to show goodwill to the extent to where that some might have blamed us or found it strange that we showed so much patience. And how we responded to what we responded to, despite the fact that it did not show weakness and to show that the motives of the two administrations, the British and the American, aided by the Zionist administration, presenting new pretexts every day since the ceasefire in 1991 until the war that started today. Those decisive days which we live today, and where the Mujahideen and the great people of Iraq are contributing and showing their bravery, that they deserve the victory from God Almighty as was promised against the enemies of God and humanity. And we are entitled to. It's our duty to be proud, as the believers should be, to the heroic deeds that is being demonstrated by our great heroes today. We have always responded, even when we were asked to do things that they were illegitimate. So the sanctions and the blockade on our nation would be lifted. And after they run out of excuses and pretexts, the invaders came to reveal their true colors and showing their real intention, their evil intentions, which was not surprising to us. And you know, brothers, that it's always been our aim to avoid evil, but when evil comes to us armed with the sword of destruction, then we have no choice. Today you're standing, oh, you glorious Iraqis, men and women, and you are heroes in our armed forces. Today you're standing in a position that would please the friend and would anger the enemy and all the infidels. But you will be victorious against your enemies, and you are causing them to suffer. You rely on your God, and now it's clear to everyone that the aggression and the unjust is clear to everyone. In 1991, the aggression against our nation, the victory is soon. These decisive days, O you Iraqis, are in line with what God has ordered you, to cut their throats. And those who are the believers will be victorious. These decisive days, the enemy tried not using missiles and fighter jets as they did before. This time they sent their infantry troops. This time they have come to invade and occupy your land. And if the American and the British in this battle, they've been avoiding to meet you face to face, and they've been using their fighters in most cases. These forces this time has invaded our land, and everywhere it goes, it faces resistance. And every time it advances and leaves the desert behind it, it finds the Iraqis surrounding it and opening fire and resisting it. The members of the party and the tribes and the Fidayeen and the armed forces, everyone has been heroic in their resistance. Therefore, after they underestimated you Iraqis, now they've come on land. This attempt is our chance to incur losses on them. They are in a dilemma. They are in trouble now. Hit them and strike them. You Mujahideen, heroes, strike against your enemy with fear. You great Iraqi, inspired by the spirit of jihad that you have, and strike them until they come to the conclusion that they're not in a position to continue with their crimes against you and against humanity. And then you will have your stability, pride, and victory. And to our martyrs, who will be rewarded with paradise. As for you, you will be rewarded by God, and the lesson that you are teaching to the enemy will make him hesitant, unable after that to dare to challenge you or challenge humanity again. Strike them and strike evil, so evil will be defeated. And all those mothers will be able to sleep in peace. All those fathers and children that have been terrorized by the aggression, and all the eyes of the great people will sleep in peace, and your deeds and your jihad will send them back in disappointment and despair. And to the Arabs and to all great people around the world, we promise you what we have been promised by God in our struggle with the enemies of humanity, that God will support his soldiers and they will be defeated and humiliated. We will continue with our pact with God, and he is our witness, and the faithful around the world, that we are prepared to sacrifice everything we have to please him so he can support his soldiers. And we rely on him to humiliate the aggressors, the arrogant, and to disperse them and to turn their evil on them. We, alongside the soldiers of God in our land, after putting our faith in God and preparing what we can to achieve this victory, the Iraqi Mujahideen are causing the enemy to suffer and to lose every day, and as time goes they will lose more, and they will not be able to escape lightly from their predicament. We will make it as painful as we can against the enemy, so they will be defeated and choked and terrified before the faith which is endorsed by God. The resistance that has been bestowed on us by God Almighty on our land. It's my duty to salute in your name, you great Iraqis, your armed forces, and all the resistance groups, all in their fields. And when I name the names of those fighting and those great leaders, I mention every soldier that is prepared to give his life to protect the principles and the great values and the faith that has been granted to us by God. And the nation and the country will be safe, and the people will be proud. I say with fear of God in my heart that my pride in you is without limits to all those great people on the land of Iraq. I'm honored to mention the infantry brigade, the men of Al-Qadisiyah and the mother of all battles, their steadfastness and their heroic deeds are a source of pride to all of us. The 11th Brigade, I namely mention column 45 and the brigade that has been fighting in Qasr and doing us great honor. And I would like to name some names of those people who have distinguished themselves. The leader of the 11th Brigade, Mustafa Muhammad Umran Al-Azzawi, and the chief, Bashir Ahmed Uthman, and commander of the 45th Brigade, Ali Khalil Ibrahim, and the commander from the 45th Brigade, Yahya Badri Dakhil, and commander from the 45th Brigade, Colonel Muhammad Khalaf al-Jaburi, commander from 45th Brigade, Colonel Fathi Ghani Majid.
وقد تجحفل بإمرة اللواء الخامس والأربعين البطل فوج خفر السواحل
and
وآمره المقدم
the border guards and their commander Haytham Rashid Ahmed al-Badran,
وآمر الفوج الثالث للواء السابع والأربعين
and the commander of
الحادية عشرة المقدم
the 11th column,
الركن
Colonel
خالد محمد كسار
Khalid Muhammad Kassar, and I'll salute in your name
قائد الفيلق الثالث
the commander of the 3rd Division, Nouri Dawood Mishal Al-Awaidi, and the commander of Brigade 51, General Khalid Al-Hashimi, and the leader of the 6th Brigade, General Ahmed Al-Khattab Al-Nasri, and the commander of the 18th column, General Adel Abdullah Ghatwan al-Ghrairi,
قائد القوة البحرية اللواء البحري
and the commander of the Marine Force,
حسن
Colonel
وإلى الأعداء أقول
Mahmoud Hassan, and to the enemies,
به الرحمن الرحيم
I say, we have met what we have been promised by God Almighty. So what have you found? You are the disciples of the devil. And I say to our beloved in Basra, I say to them, patience, brothers, victory is imminent. And I say to you, to the people of beloved Baghdad and Mosul, the great city, city of weapons and swords, and to our people, people of Muthanna, I say to them, patience, brothers. You know too, and you all know, the people of Dikar, the people of civilization and principles. You all know that the enemy that will tighten and increase its bombardment every time you resist him on the ground. So be patient, brothers and beloved ones. Be patient and God will grant you victory. I say to all of you that the enemies, every time they're defeated before you, forces on the ground, they will increase their bombardment. So be patient. Your position and your status with God is superior, and you will have victory. God is great. God is great, and long live our victorious nation. Long live Palestine, free and Arab, from the river to the sea. And long live Iraq. Long live Iraq. Long live Iraq. The country of jihad and virtue. And long live the Iraqis, symbol of jihad, proud hope and security and humanity. And best regard to all those who showed solidarity with our people in this encounter. And disgrace to the evil and their friends and those who have listened to evil. God is great.
You have been listening to a statement made by President Saddam Hussein of Iraq. A lot to talk about here. Let's bring in Christian Amanpour and Darren Kagan, who are joining us from Kuwait City.
And before you guys begin to speak, we want to welcome our international viewers because we're now being simulcast on CNNI.
Christian, what did you take away from this?
Well, this is a very current speech. Obviously, I think there can be no doubt that this is A, the real person, and B, the person responding to events that have been going on in the last 24 hours at least. He specifically mentioned Qasr, one place which has been, for the last maybe 36 to 48 hours now, the subject of a battle. You know, the U.S. Marines who led the assault on Qasr under command of the British 3rd Commando Unit of the Royal Marines thought that they would take Qasr without much of a fight. It's a tiny little place. Look at it there on your map. It's a very small urban area. It has a very significant port. Anyway, they didn't take it, and it's still going on. They believe it's isolated pockets. But this to say that Saddam Hussein has been speaking about current current battles. And he went on to talk about the other, quote, setbacks that, quote, the enemy has suffered, and they continue to lose every day, and they will lose even more as they continue every day. He says they will not be able to escape their predicament. We will make their pain as much as possible. And then he went on to talk about and to list the commanders and the senior officers of various brigades. For instance, the 45th Brigade, which is in Qasr, apparently, according to Saddam Hussein. Also, he mentioned a series of others, and notably the 51st Brigade, which was around Basra. Now, interestingly about this, we had been talked to by the military leaders on the US and British side, saying that a lot of these brigades and commanders had surrendered. But clearly, while there are significant surrenders, not most, but certain amounts of resistance continue, and they are there harassing the US and UK troops. And this proceeds up to Nasiriyah and elsewhere, as I said, also around Basra. In short, Darren, I think he was rallying his troops. He appeared much calmer, and his people much calmer, much more in control than the first speech that was broadcast several hours after the invasion started. And of course, with troops allegedly closing in on Baghdad, he's out there trying to rally them and trying to get them to keep up the fight, mentioning over and over again the issue of mujahideen, jihad, really appealing to the religious element in this as well.
A couple of other points I want to get you to comment on. First of all, looked a lot different than that first speech. In his military uniform, wasn't wearing the big, thick glasses that he was the first time. I think trying to give an image of appearing as a strong leader rather than the first time where he looked a little bit more worried, I think.
Well, I think so. And people who've been watching or already, you could see reaction coming out that this is a calmer, more in control Saddam Hussein. And I think also interesting, remembering the speeches he gave during the first Gulf War. And by the way, he commended one of the Al-Qadisiyah brigades, talking about how they are responding heroically, quote, in this battle, and mentioning how they responded heroically in the mother of all battles, which is the Iraqi leader's name for the Gulf War back in 1991. But yeah, he spoke a lot about to his people to be patient, that the enemy will increase the bombardment as our soldiers resist them on the ground. He was telling them to keep patient and prepared, and to keep sort of strong in the face of massive bombardment, which he said would continue. But again, in the Gulf War, it was much more full of bravado. We will win, we have won everywhere, this is, you know, the Allies are doing nothing. Here he's acknowledging that they're moving forward. He said as they leave the desert behind them, so he's acknowledging that they're moving forward, and but he's saying that they're still putting up heroic resistance. And indeed, there has been significant resistance over the last 24 hours.
And also, as you and I were sitting here watching it, one thing we were trying to figure out, is it live? Is it tape, as we did the first time when we saw the first tape? But perhaps not as significant in that, because he did give clues of current events. Perhaps this was taped, even though the Iraqi TV put up live, but clearly it would appear that Saddam Hussein is alive and in control of his country.
It seems so, and certainly from, I mean, it's really difficult for us here to make any kind of definitive judgment like that, but certainly there's been so many contradictory briefings by intel from the Allied side over the last several days. Was he injured? Was he not? Was he dead? Was he alive? So this is all going to fill in some of those clues to this big puzzle. And interestingly, a lot of this war is about psychological pressure. How many times have we been briefed that the war is aimed, for instance, to consolidate territory, to liberate towns, let's say in the south, to send a serious message to Baghdad that, look, we, US, UK, are in charge of this part. It's time now for you to step down and get the message. Well, a lot of that is going according to schedule, but there are these pockets of resistance, and it's not going as easily as perhaps some, maybe not the senior commanders, but some others were briefing reporters.
Had predicted or had hoped.
Yeah.
Originally, Saddam Hussein. Yes, go ahead.
This is Carol Costello.
Carol,
you know, I was struck by the fact, Christiane and Darren, that no mention of the American POWs was made, and of course many Americans are very concerned about them. Saddam said a lot of stuff like this. He said, we will make it as painful as we can against them. What was he specifically referring to, do you think?
Well, I think the resistance. I mean, there have been American casualties over the last 24 hours, particularly around Nasiriyah in south-central on the Euphrates there, even to the point where some of those POWs, we understand, were captured to the rear, on some of the supply lines. And so that indicates that they are at least managing to mount certain harassment tactics, if you like. They're coming around. All the pockets of resistance have not been neutralized as this big force pushes up from the south and up to the north. They're going so fast. Today, one military spokesman suggested that perhaps they're going so fast and they're trying to avoid certain urban areas for obvious reasons, but perhaps that's making them unable to neutralize all the opposition. And Saddam specifically mentioned the Fedayeen. We've heard a lot over the last several months and even years about so-called Saddam's Fedayeen. They're often shown on television parading in their white shrouded uniforms, and this is a specific volunteer group that is being set up, you know, as one of the sort of close protection guards. So perhaps what's going on, and certainly what the British were talking to us about as their area of operations is in southeast Iraq. They're also meant to be trying to protect the American flank. As the Americans move up from the south and move on up to Nasiriyah and Baghdad eventually, the British are meant to be trying to make two protective measures. One up north near one of the rivers, the Tigris, and one to the rear to protect the American flank. But that takes time, and they haven't all got up in position yet.
I'd like you to comment on some of the language that we heard, because I think it would be interpreted differently in different parts of the world, either here in the Middle East or back in the States. One, some of the language he's using, we're going to make this as painful as we can. Also using language, Iraq will strike the necks of the enemy as God has commanded you. That's very strong language that will be interpreted differently in the United States than it would be here in the Middle East.
Perhaps, but it's part of the
bravado
language of this particular style. I mean, he's used that significantly in the past. I think, again, he's used the religious references significantly as well. And you can see that the Iraqi flag was, in fact, changed during the first Gulf War. It used never to have Allahu Akbar in the center of the flag, and it has had that for the last 12 years. God is great. It's, you know, their attempt to appeal to the greater Arab public, as you saw when he signed off, long live Iraq, but long live Palestine. Right. And certainly, there are many, many people around the world who did not believe in this war, not too much sympathy for Saddam Hussein's regime, but many, many people around the world, and particularly around the Arab world, very concerned about the Iraqi people and, you know, the traditional sort of anti-war feelings.
As you said, his reference to Palestine, also his references to jihad.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, indeed. Iraq, the country of jihad. This is all language that's been appropriated, if you like, in the last 12 years, and for a very specific reason, and of course it resonates. Particularly, and let's say it again, at a time when the Arab-Israeli problem, the Palestine-Israeli problem, is at a very, you know, high peak. And of course, we're not hearing much about that right now because this situation has taken over pretty much wall-to-wall coverage. But they're appealing, obviously, to that. But I think in general, the point is, here he is, rallying his people, looking, as far as we can gather, all right, and being very complimentary and talking about his heroic soldiers, listing many people by name. And again, as they get closer to Baghdad, you know, trying to rally the people and the troops.
It will be what the United States is talking about as it wakes up. This is the middle of the night in the United States, and of course at different times all around the world, but it is the next development in this war.
Not the middle of the night around the world. No. People are looking now,
right now here in Kuwait, it's
quarter to midday.
Coming up on noon.
Yeah.
The timing interesting on when he chose to address his people and also the people here in the Middle East and around the world. Christiane Amanpour, thank you so much. Okay. Appreciate it. Back to you.
All right, back to us. We're going to have much more on Saddam Hussein's speech. Some of the interesting points about it, there were those strange camera switches during the broadcast. We couldn't really figure out what that was about. It looked as if it were taped, but we don't know.
Right. I was actually talking to some of the technical people during the speech, saying that clearly there were two cameras and some sort of switching machine that allowed them to switch back and forth rather primitively between those two camera positions. It seemed the cameras were rather close together. There was a slight sync problem, I was told, as the cameras switched back and forth. One person just sort of their own personal opinion saying that it was either some sort of in-the-field switching machine, therefore not a very high-tech one, or just shoddy equipment. So
yeah, we just don't know. And if we could put up those pictures of the contrast between Saddam Hussein, who supposedly spoke today, and the Saddam Hussein who spoke Thursday, we did notice a great difference between the two.
Well, yeah, clearly, and as Christian pointed out, the image that we first saw soon after the coalition, the first coalition bombing, that decapitation strike. I mean, again, it's largely personal take, but you viewers can judge for yourself.
Yeah, decide for yourself. And Christian Amanpour has one more important point to make, so let's go back to Kuwait City and Christian. Christian.
Well, again, in his speech, he did go on at some length about telling the people of the world and the people of Iraq that, look, we have done everything that's been asked of us. He was obviously referring to cooperating with the weapons inspectors. We've done everything possible that was asked of us. Of course, the US and British would disagree with that, but nonetheless, trying to say that we've done everything, even to the point of things that were not legitimate to ask of a sovereign nation, hoping that the sanctions would be lifted over the last 12 years. And then he said, you know, when the Allies, or he didn't call them the Allies, when the UK and British run out of, quote, pretext, then they invaded and they came in with this military action. And he said to the people, remember last time it was about bombing and fighter jets, but this time they are going to use all their force because they are coming to take and occupy your land. So making a difference between what happened 12 years ago and what happened this time, and trying to put the reasonable face of the Iraqi regime forward by saying at length that we have cooperated, we've done everything they asked us to do.
And Christian, one more point. I know I keep bringing up the POWs, the American prisoners of war, but a lot of people in America are very concerned about them. Did it surprise you at all that he did not mention them in his speech?
I don't know how to prejudge what he would say. You know, I'm sure a lot of people hope to hear about that. Do we know exactly when this speech was recorded? No.
Yeah, it could be a day. I mean, some of the references you're making would show that he was current, but it could be a day or two old. Who knows?
Could be.
Could be. All right.
And if we were to try to adjust to make the prediction of we knew how this man thought, I mean, there have been books and books, and a lot of people around the world trying to figure that out about what he chooses to say and not say.
Certainly so. Darren Kagan, Christian Amanpour reporting live from Kuwait City. Some breaking news. Go ahead.
We also just want to thank our international viewers for joining us, and go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say we have breaking news in other parts of Iraq to get to, but...
Right, we're going to join shortly with Walter Rogers, who is with the 7th Cavalry in southern Iraq. He's on the right-hand side of the screen there. You see